Do you have Jerry? Okay. Troy has Jerry. Roy, we were waiting on him. This was Steven yesterday with the KNC masterpiece at the very end.
All right. Well, we get to chat with your dad again on Friday. Please tell him for us that we were lovely to you.
Well, he just told me to pass along to you. He's probably not going to make that. But,
Gummit. All right.
That's fair. That's very fair.
You know I'm kidding. He'll be there, bells and whistles, and ready to go.
Jerry Jones joining us right now, brought to you by Ford. Ford is the best in Texas. Good morning, Jerry.
Hey, Sean, RJ, great to be on with you guys. And as a matter of fact, speaking of the devil, I'm sitting here, sitting right with him right now.
Who's that?
And that's Steven.
Oh, you're sitting right there with Steven right now. You guys up to anything fun?
Exactly. We're plotting against him.
Well, thank you for making the radio station even more famous. You got us viral with that appearance on Friday. Did anyone comment to you about it afterwards?
Well, I had a few, and I've got, of course, read many of the same things you read, and we all know that we want to keep it interesting for them by all means.
So a lot of listeners asked, does Jerry take that same tone with the team when things aren't going well? Do the players and the coaches catch that Jerry Jones wrath maybe in a time like this or when things are down?
Well, the main thing is that really I don't plan or use anything as a technique. It's just what happens, and I know that you want it that way, and I know our listeners want it that way. Some might say, well, Jerry, you could use a little good taste, or you could realize that what kind of ears you've got listening. But frankly, I didn't think that was an issue either with the language I was using. So the bottom line is that the being real is the real thing for me, and that's what we try to do. And you guys know or need to know that I'm trying to answer your questions for you. There's some things that just are not answerable because it could involve your strategy. It could involve some of the things you're doing, especially in player personnel, their business decision, things like that. So, but in general, I try to answer them as best I can. Bill Parcells one time told me, he said, Jones, you play your cards as close to the vest as anybody I've ever met. Bill told me that. And I said, well, turn around and look in the mirror. You got a pretty close to the vest attitude yourself.
Jerry, Jason tells us every day, we got to have a good day. We got to have focus. We got to have execution. Do you and Steven go into those meetings with the coaches and look to hear something different at a time like this? Are you getting anything different to believe that this thing can actually turn around versus the back and forth of the entire year?
Well, first of all, let's talk about strategies, intentions. Let's talk about evaluations.
Yeah.
We all know that we should take the way we are what we're responsible for, and we should be constantly evaluating, hopefully upgrading. But we all know of the thousands of teams, coaches, strategies that are going on in corporate rooms all over this world this morning. We all know that they don't know. They have a way to approach it, and then they put that in place, or they use their judgment, which consists of their lifetime of experience or their education, and they try to make the call. The issue is that you sometimes can discuss what you think, but that doesn't in any way say that it's going to happen. And consequently, when somebody asks the question, why, they start with a why. Why is it this late? Why is it this? Why is it that? That one right there usually causes me to answer it with the equivalent of why in my answer. And so the bottom line is that all that is a way to get you sometimes talking without a conclusion, without rationale. It just causes you to start giving your thoughts. That's what we do here. But you guys don't. I don't have an idea that when you say, do you think the players are going to listen to you, what gives you a reason to think the players are going to listen to you and play better?
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons that I think anybody listens to me that I work with is because it is their hope to do better. And they might be looking for ways to do better. But I understand that they don't necessarily get that done.
Jerry Jones joined us here at 105 through the Fan. You cut Brett Maher. You bring in Kai Forbath. At what point did you come to the realization that you needed to have a different kicker, and do you regret not making the decision sooner?
Well, basically, we tried the kickers out after the Buffalo game, and we tried those kickers out. And we decided that at that juncture, we were better off going with the kicker we had, Maher. We were better off doing that. We decided this week we were not better off. Now, that's a product of umpteen years of looking at all kinds of things, and sometimes staying pat, or sometime folding, or sometime getting a card. And so the bottom line is we didn't think the kickers we were looking at would do a better job against Chicago. I don't know if the kickers we were looking at would have done a better job with Chicago. We'll never know. But we decided this week that the kickers we saw this week would do a better job against Chicago. Now, that's the answer.
Do you feel that, looking back, that you made a mistake in choosing Maher over Dan Bailey in training camp before last year?
Oh, at this juncture, could we have had better results and possibly not had our kicking be as impactful? And what I will say is that, in my opinion, it has been very impactful. And the timing, the placement, the games, it has impacted. Is it the reason why we didn't win those games? No, but it's been impactful. Had I known that we were going to get down and be at this juncture and that our kickers would have missed, if you could tell me that the kicker we had in his place would have kicked them, then I would say, yes, I wish I'd have gotten the kicker that would have kicked it earlier, either last year or before the Buffalo game.
Jerry, we did this topic yesterday. I still believe that you and Steven, you can tell Steven this next to you if you want to. You guys put a very talented team on the field. Everyone had this roster as a top 5. So I still think you guys are more underachieving versus being overrated. Where do you stand with that in self-evaluation? Do you sit there and say, did we overrate these guys? What did we miss? Or do you still feel like they're underachieving and capable of much more?
I have that type of personal process. And yes, we do, in everything we do. We all realize that let's go back to a player like Murray, our great running back. Murray hit the ground for us at a good situation, at a good time. And our situation helped him have a better year. When he went other places, that didn't happen for him. That may not have been Murray. That may have been the situation. And so I hate to talk in theory here, but these are theoretical questions that you're putting some names on that really are theoretical questions answered by theoretical answers.
Jerry, Troy Aikman was very outspoken last week, saying the Cowboys' struggles begin at the top. It runs deeper than just the players, front office insinuations, ownership insinuations. What's your reaction to what Troy had to say, and does that have any type of impact on your guys' relationship?
I have a great respect for Troy. He has the ability with what he does to look at a broad swath of what the NFL does good, what it doesn't do good. I have all the respect in the world for that. More importantly, I have such respect for the contribution that he made to the Dallas Cowboys. And that's where that is. And so certainly I have a lot of respect for his comments. And I've always thought the world of Troy and still do.
Have you ever talked to Troy about his general manager or front office aspirations?
I've never known that he had any, really, but I assume that he has because I read Babe Laufenberg, or I read questions about those kinds of things. But candidly, as far as directly as a job interview or something like that, no, I have not.
Jerry Jones joins us here at 105 through the Fan. I know you've answered this question in the past, but it is a topic of conversation again, and in light of Troy's comments. And we asked Jason the same thing. At times of struggle, why do you feel you're still the right person to coach this team? So the same thing to you. Why do you feel that you're still the best general manager for this football team?
Well, I've always thought that when you cut out when you can cut out the person between the decision maker and the people doing the recommending, then you can make quicker, more succinct, and more responsive decisions. The very first press conference I was ever involved in, I explained to everybody how I was going to run the Dallas Cowboys since I owned them. The very first one. And I said I would be involved in everything from this to jocks and socks, whatever. And I'm not trying to be cute. There has never been any doubt in anybody's mind how I run the Dallas Cowboys and how I ran the Cowboys from the day I got here. Nobody can exchange a player. Nobody can do anything unless I have approved it tacitly or otherwise. Nobody can have the authority to go make a trade or change or do a draft pick. Never, since I've owned the Cowboys, unless I approve it. Within the organization, some people like a coach, or some people like a player personnel director, or some people like a marketing manager, they may have decision-making authority above people below them. But as far as having any authority to do that above them as it pertains to me, that has never been the case since the Dallas Cowboys. Never. Not when Jimmy was here, not when Troy was here. Nobody ever has had the final say but me. Now, you know, I really don't like to say that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a fact. And so when we don't do good, we all know who the ultimate total responsibility. Now, how do we make decisions? Since day one, we have made decisions on a contributed basis from key people, whether it be Jimmy Johnson when we first got here, whether we included Troy Aikman in the decision or not. But ultimately, that's called input, and then ultimately somebody has to break ties if somebody disagrees or somebody has to do it. That's my job. And so the question was, why do I think it's the best one? Since I've got to make it anyway, and since it is ultimately mine, then why have several people in between? You know, the turnover we have had in coaches throughout the NFL, not just the Cowboys, but throughout the NFL. You've had the same turnover in general managers. Just as often as you've traded coaches, you've traded general managers. And sometimes don't have the same general manager that brought the coach in. But he probably never brought him in anyway. It was the owner that brought him in. This is pro football, not college. And pro football, the guy that ultimately has the responsibility for paying the bills makes the decision.
Jerry Jones with us every single Tuesday on Sean and RJ 105.3 The Fan. Jerry, you guys are in the spotlight for a reseeding discussion because of the division winner, probably hosting a team with a much better record. How do you feel about the reseeding discussion?
Well, first of all, the system that we're under right now has allowed at least one team that I'll speak to directly, the New York Giants here a few years back, to come in under the same basis. And we had beaten them twice, and then they turn around and beat us, and then they won the Super Bowl. And so you can have a team go in with a less than impressive record, get in the playoffs. I call it coming up the backside and win the world championship. That's pro football.
Was it weird rooting? I'm assuming that you, like us, were rooting for Eli and the Giants last night. Was that an odd feeling?
Excuse me, I missed that question.
Was it weird if you were like the rest of us, which I'm assuming, to root for the Eli and the Giants last night?
Well, of course, we want to do anything that give us better odds of getting in the playoffs. And had Philadelphia lost last night, that would have enhanced that. You say, well, aren't you ultimately going to have to beat them? Most of the configurations of how for us to get in the playoffs always included beating Philadelphia. So it really didn't change, but I was definitely rooting for the Giants.
Jerry, last year in the playoffs, the Rams really ran right over this defense. The run defense this year hasn't been, anything to write home about. How concerned are you about the Rams' rush attack against you guys this week?
Well, we've got to play defense, let's say, the way we did against Buffalo. We've had good defensive games this year. We didn't have good defense the other day against Chicago. But we need to pick out 3 or 4 games that we've had good defense and play like that. And when you line up, you plan on that. That surprised everybody. It surprised the players. It surprised the coaches that we end up going out and having the night that we have. You can have bad nights, or you can have bad games, and you can have more than one bad game. We've got to play better, or we won't beat the Rams.
Jerry, does this defense and this team overall have enough fire, enough backbone, enough grit internally to respond to adversity and show more fight out there on the field? Is that aspect of this team a concern for you?
Well, no, it has enough talent. It has enough fire. It has enough invested in its preparations. They have worked all season. We are reasonably healthy. Okay, we've missed Tyron Crawford, but everybody's got missing players of his caliber or better. And so we have played, we have practiced, we have prepared, we're in physical shape. We have all of that. We can, yes, go out and play, and if we play and have a consistency between the assignments, don't have breakdowns there. If we can hit some field goals that we've missed, if we can get a turnovers, all of those things are obvious. Do we practice them? Do we anticipate doing those assignments right? You can't imagine how many times that we worked on not being drawn off sides against Chicago. Our defensive team not being drawn off sides. You'd like to think that practice kept you from possibly jumping off sides. It didn't, but you got some really fine football players trying to make a play. And in that particular case, those guys got those offside penalties, pre-snap penalties, because they were trying to get out there and make a difference in the game. So I'm addressing your question. Do we have the right attitude? Are they physically able to have the fire now, to win that game and play better defense than we played against Chicago? Yes.
Jerry, before we let you go, there was a report from Jane Slater on the NFL Network. Can you confirm that report? There's been a recent meeting between Steven or yourself and Urban Meyer.
That's not correct. I can confirm that it is absolutely not correct.
With you guys,
we have not met with any coach, not met with any. Specifically, why in answering that question, I don't want to imply that we wouldn't in a way that would diminish the credibility of the or in this case, a player or somebody you're asking about. Normally when somebody says, have you met with such and such? Are you interested in such and such? And you said, I have not. Its implication is you're not interested. That shouldn't be brought forward either. The facts are we just have not talked to any coach, potential coach in the NFL.
Hey, Jerry, we know how much you are an advocate of football in L.A., how close you are with Stan Kroenke. With the attendance problems or the Chargers rumors about moving that you already said weren't true, like looking back on this, was football in L.A. to bring it back a mistake? Was having two teams there a mistake?
Oh, I don't. I think that first of all, we all know that you pay a price when a team leaves the city, and we have great fans in San Diego. Just you have great fans in St. Louis. Do I think that the Rams and the Chargers can have fabulous success in that new stadium in Los Angeles and be a real major plus for the NFL and for the game of football? The answer is a resounding yes, yes, yes. Both teams.
Jerry, thank you so much for the time and not causing us to get in trouble with the FCC. Have a good day and good luck
Thanks,
this weekend.
You bet. Appreciate you. Bye.